Good afternoon, Victoria Taft, your adult in the room. How are you this afternoon on this day where we actually saw perp walks? I'm sorry to laugh. We had perp walks of the people who were arrested, 3 people arrested for crashing that church. That is just unbelievable. Here's one of them. That's right. Remember the other day, Tuesday, we played for you all the different situations, people crashing the church, stopping the service, and all of that, and said, this is against the law. You can't actually do this. And yet we kept being regaled with tales from our friend Dawn Lemon, former CNN host, who said, oh, no, this is totally fine. Yeah, this is great. So now we've got that story. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. And they're going to go after Dawn Lemon, too. I'm not sure how much successful they'll have with that, but they're trying. The DOJ is as well. So that's happening. We're going to talk to Julie Kelly, who is looking and observing and giving her expertise on what happened in the Jack Smith testimony before the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives today. That makes a big difference because, he's talking all about his really absurd investigation into the Trump administration. And you want people to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And all the things that he did that were illegal were brought up today in this hearing. And of course, the Democrats were doing what the Republicans were doing, except in reverse. It was sort of like black and white. So we'll talk to Julie Kelly about that. Then we'll also talk to a woman because she is, Carol Lieberman is a therapist. She's a board certified psychiatrist. She's a therapist. She calls herself the terror therapist. And so we're going to talk with her about what is going on in the hearts of these ICE people who would lead them, these anti-ICE people, I should say, who would lead them to committing acts of terror against people in church and or several other things I've got going. But let's go first, because I want to make sure we get this on to let you see. Here is a perp walk of one of the the leader of the ICE attack or anti-ICE attack on the church. That's right. These people sacked the church. They came in and began chanting during the church service last Sunday in St. Paul, Minnesota. And what happened was it literally terrified the people in there. Of course, some people felt like, oh, this is ridiculous, and were rolling their eyes. Many more, however, they skedaddled. They got out of there, were terrified. What if these people were armed? What if these people had other things that they wanted to do, like spray people with who knows what? Nobody knew what they were doing, but I will tell you that people felt they were in the thrall of these people and they were not free to go. Some people felt they were not free to go. And you know what that means? That means serious charges, very serious charges. And in fact, they've received serious charges. Let us go to our first story of the day, which is this one. I'll make sure. Oh, that's our perp walk lady. I just want to make sure. Where's my screen share? Stand by here. I want to do that. Perp walk lady. Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, let me just tell you what the story says because it's not coming up. And I don't know why. But from CBS 19 News, basically gives the wherewithal, the details, the stuff that we want to see in this story. The U.S. Attorney General announced Thursday the arrest of 3 people for allegedly disturbing a church service while protesting the massive immigration crackdown in Minnesota. As Vice President J.D. Vance prepared to visit the state, he went there today and he talked to the reporters there. Nakima Levy Armstrong, Chantil Louisa Allen. And I think Chantil is the one who is a school board member. So what you hiring there, voters? Dillweeds. Well, we've already seen what you did with your governor and your mayor of Minneapolis, so I guess we shouldn't expect too much more. William Kelly. Now, that William Kelly's our professional protester we told you all about. You'll see him in just a second as well. And they were arrested in connection with the Sunday protest at the city's church in the state capital, St. Paul. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on X. And St. Paul and neighboring metropolis of Minneapolis have been the epicenter of a major deployment. Then, let's see, tensions have flared. Now, why have tensions flared? Do they flare because they're being unreasonable? No, I'd say that they're not terribly unreasonable. It's really hard to watch somebody getting arrested. Okay, it really is. And so I understand that. I completely understand why someone would not want to see that in their town. And so there's a perfect solution for this. Allow the police, the jailers, the sheriffs, etc., to do with ICE what they should be doing with ICE, which is turning over the criminal illegal aliens in the jails. That's all you have to do. And then you won't have any of this stuff on the street, or very little of it, far less than occurs right now. And so I think that's an important thing. You don't, but the left wants this. That's one of the reasons why they're doing it. It's one of the reasons why, and this is really interesting, and we're going to talk about this coming up in just a few minutes. It's very interesting. It's one of the reasons why the Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison, Mr. Black Lives Matter, Mr. I'm an Islamist, Mr. Hands Up, Don't Shoot, all kinds of things, hoaxes he has perpetrated in his time as Attorney General, and going after Derek Chauvin for the murder of a man who was already dying of a drug overdose is just the next thing. I'm saying that that case will be overturned, mark my words. It may take years, I don't know. Wouldn't it be interesting if you got the Innocence Project involved in that? Wouldn't that be something? I wonder if they'd ever come to the aid of a person like Derek Chauvin, who still sits in state prison. I mean, it's just, it's a good question, isn't it? So I'm kind of wondering if we've got some issues with our stream today. And I saw Alex poke his head in. So Alex, if you want to check it out and see if we've got any issues with our stream, I would very much like to know. Generally speaking, we have a lot of commenters right now. So I'm just kind of wondering if everything's cool. I am live. Okay, cool. That's awesome. And are we live on X? I am live. Awesome. Am I on? Yes, on both my Facebook pages, X, and I think we're just having issues with Rumble then. I don't know what. Generally speaking, Rumble is where we have a go-to thing, and so I don't know what happened to that, but we're gonna be fine. We're just going to be fine. Okay. So here's the perp walk of our lady. I use that term loosely. I generally do end up talking about these women and calling them ladies, but it's not an appropriate word for them. Let's see. During an earlier speech in Toledo, Ohio, Vance called on protesters to stop fighting immigration enforcement. Absolutely. And, here's the question I have. You've got all of these people populating the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, where ICE, 3,500 ICE, Border Patrol, HSI, all kinds of feds are there. And one of the reasons they're there is because the DOJ has sent investigators to look at all of the daycare fraud. So that is the reason why the Keith Ellisons I hope I finished that thought. He was in Portland, along with the Maine Attorney General, along with the California Attorney General, and the Oregon Attorney General, touting how great it was that all they were doing was fighting Donald Trump. And they did so in front. This was not even an announced meeting. It was a sort of sotto voce kind of a meeting, because I happen to be on one of those attorneys general's websites, and I'm on their email list. And so I thought, well, where'd that come from? So they went there and talked about the Minneapolis situation. And I will tell you that it was, once again, Keith Ellison has lied in front of a very malleable-brained bunch of people. So we'll get to that as well. on the Adult in the Room podcast today. So let's see and make sure that we've got this. Here we go. Here's that story I was looking for. An earlier speech in Toledo, Ohio, Vance called on protesters to stop fighting the immigration enforcement. The country belongs to Americans, and the American dream belongs to the citizens who built this nation. Department of Homeland Security, FBI, executed an arrest in Minnesota, said Pam Bondi. So far, we've arrested, this was earlier, so now after this, they have arrested 2 others. They've also sought an arrest of Don Lemon for whatever reason. The report is, although that I'm not entirely sure if this is accurate, but I'll just throw it out there that there's some pushback to going after our friend Don Lemon. So, oh Don, you're such a tool. Okay, so here we go. Can we call him terrorists yet? Here's what happened the other day. And
Blair Z. Taft Vera.
Oh, sorry, folks. Sorry, that was my daughter calling me. I have to leave this open because Julie Kelly is calling on the phone, so I have to leave that open. So anyway, so Blair Z, that's my daughter. Okay, I'm sure we're going to cut that out for the final thing. But, okay, so here we go. Here.
And Somali brothers and sisters.
This guy.
You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the
Do you call this...
No! Jesus died with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again.
Is this a peaceful protest?
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali?
Is this peaceful protest?
Communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame.
Okay, buddy.
Now.
Whatever you say, buddy.
Out now.
So this is not a peaceful protest. This was a takeover of a church service. It was a First Amendment offense. I mean, an offense of those people's First Amendment rights, the people in the church. And Don Lemon was all part and parcel of it. We played this on Tuesday, but I bring it back for your oral enjoyment.
Together again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason, it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here.
Okay, whatever. I mean, Don, you're such a, Don, LOL, exactly. Yeah, that's King. Well, Don's going to go down, I think. Don's probably going to get charges for this because he was part of the conspiracy to move in on this issue, this church. Now, here's another guy. I mean, and my overall question is, can we call it terrorism yet? Here's this guy.
If we dox these ICE agents, if we can dox these ICE agents, we need to go to their fucking houses. You understand me? I know that shit sounds crazy or cruel or like, Jesus, you're gonna... Yes, I am. This is war.
The music.
Do you understand? We're at war with the government and the branch of the government, our state, local.
Okay, whatever, buddy. Okay, so he's doing that. We got the church takeover, and we've got that guy making death threats. I don't know to what extent he plans on doing anything. He looks like the professional protester guy screeching at all the parishioners. But I looked at fairly closely, and I go, no, not the same guy. But he kind of reminds me, same vibe. Let's see, what do we call that? A whitewash or something? What would Don Lemon say? Okay, so then we have this. This happened in Minneapolis. Sure it did.
Is that him? Is that him? Yes! Open the door! Oh my God.
They attacked.
Oh my God.
This is the mob surrounding a car filled with people they believe are conservative people or ICE supporters of some sort, maybe reporters And so they surround the car.
Stop! Wait, let them go! Let them go!
Hey, pull over. Pull over. Hey, leave it.
Get out of here!
Leave it off.
Get out of here!
No.
Y'all just let him leave! It's not working! Hey! Sir! We don't know him. Stop
Hey, let him out.
That is a crime. We got his flag, is what that screecher said. Yeah. Sounded like he wanted to, that guy who was making the death threats wanted to die by breaking into houses. Yeah. Okay. So that is a death threat. That is an activity. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about there, Aaron. No, not a super racist, blah, blah, blah. They knew exactly who he was, and so do you. They knew exactly who what was. The professional protester dude? Did they? Are you sure? Yeah, no, I think not. I'm not shaping. I don't need to shape. Yeah. You know, what's interesting. Oh, the guy in the car? The guy in the car. Oh, I imagine they did know who that person in the car was, which is why they were surrounding him. That makes it, let's see, let's go to the old scales of justice here. What happened there? Oh, yeah, it's still illegal. To stop somebody and prevent them from moving forward, there's a term of art for that, which we've talked about on this program before. And it's in the line of offenses in the offenses of kidnapping. It's not kidnapping per se. That's a far greater crime. But this is preventing somebody from being able to move, and that actually exists in the city of Portland, where I've talked about it before. So this is bad. So the question to you is, can we call it terrorism yet? And what's the mindset of people who do this sort of thing? We're going to, in a few minutes, talk to the terror therapist who's looked at different terror groups around the world, including these people, and has a few insights on what makes these people tick. Do I feel the same way about ICE stopping U.S. citizens? About what? And under what circumstances would they stop a U.S. citizen? I know that out of the 3,000 arrests that have occurred so far in the Minneapolis area, and I guess maybe that's the whole Minnesota numbers, 3,150 have been U.S. citizens. And do you know why they've been arrested? For attacking ICE officers and trying to impede their jobs. And that's illegal. I don't know if you know this, but if you stop or impede an ICE officer or any federal officer doing his or her duties, if you're found guilty, you can go to prison for like 5 years. This is not something, this is a very serious matter. It really is. Are these terrorists? That's my question to you. So here's Don Lemon. He's the only one so far not arrested. There were several, 3 dozen people that stormed, whatever, took over, did the takeover of the church service. Okay. And 3 people have been arrested, including the professional protester whose image we showed you just a couple of minutes back. You're not a Christian. How annoying is this dude? So he's been arrested. You know what? That tells me that there is a God, which I already knew, but there you go. Some justice coming to this guy. How dare he break into that church service on Sunday? How dare he? And then presume to tell people with F words and every conceivable kind of disgusting, dripping with sarcastic ire, these people in the church, what he thought of them. I'm just over here turning tables. Well, okay, Jesus did that at the temple to stop people from getting money for the right sacrifices. And it was in all the papers. It was like a bad dude. Is that happening at this church? Is he so righteous that he would be that guy? Is he Jesus? Did he just tell us that he thinks he's Jesus? I mean, this guy's, he's in jail right now. So what can I tell you? He's in jail. Okay, let's see. They are arresting people for you can't do that. You can't follow them. Dude, I'm telling you right now. They've said it over and over and over again because the presumption is, in fact, where's my Chicago? Let me get the Chicago police chief again. Even Chicago's police chief knows you can't do that. And they've been doing everything they can to stymie ICE. Oops. Let's see. This is from October, I think. Oh, no, that's not true. Hold on. Hold on! Police. Okay, PDX, ICE watching. I'll think of it. I'm pretty sure it was. Sorry, hold on, guys. Because I've got a whole library of stuff, and I keep trying to figure out how best to. Okay, don't have it. I can readily find. But you can't follow them because the presumption is if you're following them, then what you're going to do is ambush them. He said that. This is amazing that he said this. And the presumption is that they mean something ill if they are following you. And it is dumb to do that because if you force them to have to shoot their way out, that's no bueno. So, yeah. And we've had people get arrested for this. Multiple people have been arrested for that. If you're following the story, you need to know multiple people have been arrested for doxing them, stopping them, barricading them. And so there you go. Preach it. That's right. I don't know what she's preaching, but it's true. It's true. I don't understand why Americans are helping them. They take our resources. So why do we have a homeless problem? Well, they're helping them because it helps their political party. I don't know if you know this, but these people, in Minnesota, here's the signal. Here it is. The signal is this. Massive fraud in Minnesota. Massive fraud in California. Massive fraud in Washington state. And in which federal as well as state dollars go to groups of people who recycle that money and give it back to the Democrats by way of campaign donations. That is the laundering process of this kind of thing. Now, that's bad enough, but it's also done, they're conducting fraud, okay? And they're stealing other people's money. And that's what's going on. And so, theft is wrong. It was in all the papers. It was in that Bible thing. I don't understand why Americans are helping them. Well, that's exactly why. Because Americans, first of all, we're going to find out about the emotional cost on these people who do help them, but we're going to find out also about how they go about, somehow going through the machinations of, well, here's why I'm doing it. They believe that they're doing the right thing on some level. If you're here illegally, you're illegal and committed a crime. Well, that's yeah. I mean, to some extent. Although Don Lemon had the funniest. He went out and did a man on the street interview in Minneapolis, and he tried to convince people that coming over the border illegally was not a crime. It's just a misdemeanor, but a misdemeanor is a crime. I mean, try telling that to a judge. A misdemeanor is a crime. Anyway, if you've done nothing wrong, no need to worry. If you're one of those so-called protesters, you need to be arrested and put in jail for years. Well, lemon juice must be arrested. Here he is. Speaking of lemon juice, this is Don Lemon, I believe.
Together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold.
So he can't tell us what's going to happen, but you're going to watch. He's outside the church. He knew what the operation was. Don Lemon knew, and he did it anyway. And then he goes, we're going to find out what it looks like and how we're going to go about doing this activity, this direct action of crashing a church and screeching at the people who knows what they were thinking, what was in their heads. They weren't in control. That much I know. That is a crime. Trespass is a crime. All kinds of things. And sometimes trespass can be a misdemeanor. But Don Lemon was out there saying, trying to convince people, it's no big deal. Well, wait a minute now. What is it? 70% of the people who are being rolled up by the feds are people who have committed a crime in the United States of America while they were illegally here. There's a reason that the murder rate is going to be at the lowest level since 1900. There is a reason for that. Because they're kicking people out. MAGA has no integrity. Okay, whatever you say. Don needs serious jail time. We're going to find out. Well, here's Don Lemon. This is Don Lemon's confession video. I want you to know this. Don Lemon's confession video.
Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay.
Let's go. So, and what does he do?
Thanks you for allowing me to be here.
Okay,
Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good
to see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community.
She's a civil rights attorney and is engaged in breaking federal law. Now check this out. There she is. Is that her? No, is that her aide? Aide de camp. No, you can't follow him. No, you can't. You may not follow ICE. Nope. Can't do it. Cannot do it. So good luck with that. If you try doing it and they catch you, you can't. They tell you to turn around and go away. They will find you. They will tell you, please don't do that. They will tell you. Let's see. I want to see if I can find that. Let's see. Dang. Chief. I'm trying to look for my different words here that I can find that. Okay. No. Bummer. Hold on. Nope. Oh, well. It's okay, I guess. That's just such a bummer. Because what he does is he goes through everything that they do that will get you hurt or arrested, including following them. Yeah, including following them. And also, when you try to barricade them in with your cars, their assumption is, as happened in that town near Chicago, they got surrounded. They were literally ambushing the ICE agents. Yeah, you can't do that. And what do you think they're going to do to the ICE agents? Like, for example, in this case, when they surrounded the car, what were they going to do? What were they going to do with these people?
Is that him? Yes! Open the door!
This is outrageous. This is a terrorist attack, if you will. This is a crime. This is an invasion. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Pull over. Hey, leave it. Get out of here. Leave it up. Get out of here. No. Y'all just let him leave. It's not working. Hey!
So, okay, can we call it terrorism yet? And what do these people think they're doing? What motivates them to do this? Dr. Carol Lieberman is a woman who has done plenty of insight and investigation into the minds of the people who are terrorists. And thank you so much for coming on the Adult in the Room podcast. How are you?
My pleasure. fine, thank you.
It's good to have you back. And what do you think of the situation that we've been playing, these different situations, the crashing of the church, confronting these people in a car and stopping them, and people openly urging people to kill ICE agents? This is terrorism, isn't it?
It is terrorism, absolutely. It's what's most disturbing about it is how they have this, just like Hamas came into Israel on October 7th,
Yeah.
had zeal in their eyes. They had this look in their eyes, this religious fervor, and that they were doing this to please their God, and the more Israelis they kill, or rape, or all of the other things they did, the more favored they will be when they get to heaven and as a martyr. And the people in the streets in America, that, like you just showed, are also, they have that zeal, that sort of manic kind of look in their eyes, like, that this is the most important thing they could be doing, and they should be praised for it.
I was thinking when I read up on what was going on October 7th, one of the things that I saw was that these guys were high on Captagon, which, is that true?
Yes, actually I did read, but it's funny that Captagon is not really sold in America. It's in Europe. Well, I don't know how. It's mainly a drug that's sold in Europe. And when I was in medical school in Belgium, and I lived in Belgium and in Paris, and during medical school, I took Captagon sometimes for finals, because there was so much to learn by by the end of the year, and it didn't make me turn into a terrorist.
Oh, I think it just gave them there was no conscience. There was just the ability to be superhuman.
Obviously, it depends how much you take and how many you take, and how the dose, and also how long and how many. But I mean, if it helps you to stay up, that was the main reason why I was taking it.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know that how many I've been told that there are a lot of drugs involved, right? So with the Antifa stuff, and with people who get high just in general, and do stupid things and make stupid choices. But what motivates somebody to surround that car, for example?
Like, I don't want to blame it all on. I mean, the drugs, different kinds of drugs can help to take away their awareness, but that's not really the main thing that's motivating them, because they start getting motivated when they're going to school, and they are taking classes with teachers who have political agendas, and they are taught things that they're taught to hate America, and that's where it starts. Of course, also in their family, if they have families that talk about how horrible America is and so on. But why did they surround the cars? Well, first of all, they're taught that they believe that they're excuse me, they believe that they are doing the right thing, that they are going to be hailed as heroes. And in fact, Renee Good, her picture is on banners and so on. She is being hailed by people who believe that, as of course induces further people to, they want their picture on the banners. So there's that. Also, there's some Trump derangement syndrome. People who aren't happy with their own life, and they just blame it all on Trump. And ICE, or the police, they see as an extension of Trump, because he's the one, sending them out to arrest illegal aliens, which is one of the things he said in his platform before he was elected, and people voted for him for that, because it's the Constitution that says that they are illegal.
So what do you think that should be done with these people as we go along? I know that the church sacking, there were 3 arrests over the past 24 hours over it. Is that going to be enough? How do you deal with these folks?
That's one of the biggest problems, that they are not getting punished enough. There are no consequences. even in aside from anything having to do with ICE or the police or just people who shoplift or people who commit crimes in the subway or just run of the mill kinds of crimes. Some of them are not so run of the mill murder, but they if they get arrested, if they get arrested, yes, that's Freudian. If they get arrested,
Yeah, right.
then they're let out. They might not even be put in a cell. They're let out right away, and so they don't care whether they're going to be arrested or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a big part of the problem, that there were no consequences, just like there were no consequences for students in the colleges who were protesting pro-Palestine and all of that. And so, why not do it? There was nothing there was no risk for them.
Yeah. So is it just a desire to join something, to feel like they belong? Is it a religious experience for these people?
Well, to some degree, like I was saying before, similar to Hamas, there is some, it's sort of their own religion, but um, they get very excited about it, and they feel like they're and it's a group. They feel like they're pledging allegiance to their group, to all the other people who think the same way. They do all kinds of crazy things, like there was a sit-in in Target. They were angry at Target in Minnesota because Target was letting ICE go use their bathrooms. So they did a sit-in Target. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then they're also doing, I don't know if you heard about this, but they're trying to connect with ICE on dating platforms.
Oh, uh-huh.
They're asking the ICE people to send photos. They're pretending, of course, at the beginning to like ICE. They seduce them, and then they ask them to send photos, like compromised photos, naked photos.
Right.
And and then the idea is that then they post them on the internet. So there are all kinds of ways that they are trying to attack them. Of course, ramming their car, or like what you were showing. These, of course, even before ICE, people were doing that kind of thing just to the police in different cities. So it's the ICE and police represent authority, and they don't want to have to deal with authority. They don't
Mm-hmm.
anyone telling them what to do. And so it's kind of a teenage rebellion. Not that these people are all teenagers, of course.
Right.
In that stage, they're in that stage of psychological development where they feel like they need to rebel, like teenagers rebel.
Well, what do you call it when you stop somebody and don't allow them to proceed the way they wish to? What do you call that?
Depending upon the circumstance, like what kind of circumstance?
Well, I'm just talking about when they surround a car and stuff like that. Besides it being sort of an act of terrorism, or freaking people out in a church, not knowing if they're going to end up like the Annunciation school happened in Minneapolis and that sort of thing. I mean, that's just astonishing to me. It's a form of kidnapping.
Yes, how they that it's not just to be railing. It's not just trying to hurt or murder or whatever, ICE or police or authority figures. It's trying to hurt. Just average people sitting in a church. They never did to them. But it's just anger. It's rage. That's another whole part of this. And during COVID, when we were locked up, a lot of rage developed in this country, and especially people who took who were made to take, like, to keep their job, the COVID vaccines, and then found out afterwards just how dangerous they are. So people are, of course, really angry at that. If I had taken the vaccine, I never have, I never will. But if I had, and then out afterwards what this did to my body, I would be enraged. So that I would surround cars, but I would want to do something. And also during these lockdowns, that was a lot of time when people could and did play video games, violent video games. And there have been studies for decades showing that violent media, the more hours you consume, the more violent you become, more aggressive. And not everybody, goes out and does that, or not everybody it becomes a serial killer, but you can become aggressive in different ways. Domestic violence, parking lot fighting over a parking space, all kinds of things where you just become more aggressive. Air rage. I mean, there are things happening now that didn't happen before because of how angry people are.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Carol Lieberman. I appreciate you coming on, and you keep going at them. Thank you so much for your efforts, and really appreciate you coming back on the Adult in the Room podcast. Thank you. So, it's nice to have somebody who's got a lot of smarts who says, what's going on with these people? Why are they persisting in doing things that are antisocial? Now, I get it. I'm a person who used to be on the left, so I was a liberal. Okay, I was a liberal, not to be confused with the radical commies around here. But I will say that I understand why somebody could be motivated doing something, but I think that you should be motivated to do something because it's the right thing to do.
Julie Kelly.
Oh, here we go. Julie Kelly's on. Here we go. Julie Kelly, hello. Oh, good. I'm hoping that this comes out over my. Here we go. You should be on air right now, Julie Kelly. Thanks so much for coming on the Adult in the Room podcast. She's coming in on phone, and you want to just let us know a little bit about what happened during the Jack Smith hearings today, because you've been watching and you've been catching certain things that have been going on, and wanted to find out what you thought.
There were a few fireworks, not really related to Jack Smith,
Yeah.
but J6 celebrity cop, and I call him crisis actor, Michael Fanone, flipping off the committee, trying to get into a physical confrontation with Ivan Raiklin, totally melting down. That was sort of amusing.
Yeah, was that just one of those planned things? I think I've got that video of that. Fanone he is just a piece of work, isn't he? He's just something.
He really is, Victoria. And look, it's important, and I'm a little disappointed, and I hope that this newly formed J6 subcommittee by House Republicans will reevaluate the sworn testimony of Mike Fanone and the other three, I call them J6 celebrity cops, because not only did they lie under oath in that first July 2021 the Democrat J6 committee, but they lied under oath in court proceedings about the nature of their injuries. And they testified as victims and witnesses in J6 trials, trying to get judges, which of course they did, to throw the book at J6ers, claiming that they had suffered injuries that they had not suffered. So I really hope that House Republicans, this new committee, will dive into that. But yes, Mike Fanone, completely off the rails. I have a bunch of clips up at Julie_Kelly too on Twitter if people want to check it out.
Yeah, I've got the sort of highlight reel, if you will, of the Fanone situation. I think this is it. Yeah. So there was a little rhubarb between these guys.
Those who attack
and so Fanone, and he's wearing what was the shirt that he was wearing? He was wearing something incredibly inappropriate.
Well, it was a T-shirt, and it said something weird, and the back of it said "Fighting Nazis since 1996." I don't know what that is, but he seems to have impossibly added more tattoos to his body. I didn't think that was possible, but I thought the neck tattoos would be like, the end of the line, but apparently he's finding naked body. He's also adding on to his body. He looks like he's put on about 50 lbs. So also sitting and drinking beer alone in your new house paid for by CNN with no other job probably is not the best thing for your weight and your health. But there you go.
I can put you down as a big fan. Okay, here's an exchange with Jack Smith, and I just I'm not going to play it all because this is very well highlighted today, but I wanted you to give me an idea of what it was that this represented. This is the Cassidy Hutchinson thing.
Star witness in one of those staged and choreographed hearings they paid the former president of ABC News to put together. She was, in fact, the only witness at this special prime time hearing Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, 8 o'clock in the evening, and she told some stories. I mean, these were some stories. She talked about President lunged across the back seat, grabbed the steering wheel, tried to drive the car to the Capitol. And I just want to know, you think she was lying?
Chairman Jordan, my assessment of that particular issue is that with respect to the testimony about the president lunging towards the driver, my recollection of her testimony about that is that it was secondhand. She said.
Okay, so Julie, secondhand, he was just scraped on the floor over this. I mean, the big star witness was lying, and he knew it.
He did know it. And, I love how Mr. Integrity and, straight shooter, follow the facts and the law. He refused on multiple occasions today, Victoria, to straight out say that Cassidy Hutchinson had made up that story, which we know that she did because she testified at the committee 3 times before that explosive bombshell manufacture testimony that happened after she connected with Liz Cheney, and then Liz Cheney springs Cassidy Hutchinson on the committee. There were even committee members and investigators at the time who were very upset that Cassidy Hutchinson took on this starring role without being fully vetted, which the allegation she was making against the president. But look, both the deputy chief of staff and the driver and the security chief all testified under oath that that scenario never happened. So, and this is with one of the individuals she claimed to have had the conversation with on the afternoon of January 6th. I believe it was Tony Ornato. Mm-hmm. So we know that she lied. She perjured herself. Unfortunately, there haven't been what appears to be any criminal charges against her, referrals against her. But the fact that Jack Smith could not come out straight out today, we already knew it was hearsay. But he could have said, we found unequivocally she was an unreliable witness. The other people who she allegedly spoke with, the driver who allegedly was assisted by the president, all 3 strongly rejected and contradicted her sworn testimony. But he didn't, because he wants to make it look like there might be some viability to her story. And of course, if he came out and said that, it would completely decimate the January 6th committee and, of course, the credibility of Hutchinson. So he did whatever he could to avoid giving a straight answer to that question.
I thought one of the better interlocutors was the Wyoming representative who actually got him to talk about the fact that the J6 committee got rid of and scrubbed a bunch of stuff, a lot of evidence, a terabyte of evidence, and then did he get any? What did he say to that? Because I felt like that was an important question, unless I'm wrong.
No, it was. And this is from Harriet Hagman, who is, wow, what a great improvement over her predecessor, Liz Cheney, who she beat by 40 points. I think that was in 2022, I believe. So right. She's a tough cookie. She's very impressive in these hearings because, unlike a lot of her colleagues, she's always prepared. Brandon Gill, Representative Brandon Gill, who is Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law, he is always making headlines at these hearings because they're prepared and they're forceful with their questions. So you could tell Jack Smith was very rattled when Harriet Hagman was pressing this line of inquiry about his collaboration with Nancy Pelosi, Liz Cheney's J6 committee, and the destruction of evidence and the destruction of videos. All of the videos of the recordings of all the transcribed interviews, nearly 1,000 witnesses that committee called, were all destroyed by Benny Thompson. Now, we saw selected clips, but he destroyed all the videos. Now, but it appears, and this was an issue during the J6 in Washington, I followed this, it appears that he did get some of those videos And Donald Trump's lawyer said, well, we want to see all the videos too. And Judge Chutkan said, well, it doesn't matter. You don't need to see the videos. You just have all the transcripts. Right. So you could tell he was very uncomfortable trying to answer any of those questions as well about the destruction of evidence from that original committee.
Huh. Well, at least she got him to say that, yeah, he'd gotten some, right? He'd gotten some of this. Does that, I feel like that was sort of a breakthrough. That, and of course, the Jim Jordan thing. What was another point at which you felt like there was aha moment? You put in your Substack, which is excellent, and everybody should go and make sure they see Julie Kelly's Declassified with Julie Kelly Substack. You have a lot of questions that you posed in your latest one about Jack Smith. Were any of your questions answered?
Well, they did raise my top question there, which had not been raised in the closed door interview last month. And that is forcing Jack Smith to admit, or at least acknowledge, that Judge Eileen Cannon disqualified him from that position after finding in July of 2024 that he had been unlawfully, unconstitutionally appointed. And then that indictment was dismissed. And what I said is I compared this to some of the situations we've seen recently, including an acting U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan's situation, where a federal judge threatened her with disbarment and disciplinary action for putting U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan on indictments after she had been disqualified by a separate judge.
Yeah.
So I said somebody needs to ask Jack Smith the same thing. Of course, he never answered that. But the American people need to be reminded, because he had covered this up after covering his testimony, and no one brought it up during last month's, is that, yes, his appointment was found to be unconstitutional by a federal judge. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's why everything's being held in abeyance, and he's under a gag order, too. Somewhat of a gag order, correct? I know you've got to run. Just one more thing. Is there going to be another hearing with Jack Smith again? Do you think that the Democrats would want that?
Well, this is interesting. Jamie Raskin brought that up at the very end of the hearing. We will see if, the judges or the appellate court in Florida allows the release of that second report written by Jack Smith detailing the documents case. Now, the reason why Aileen Cannon did not release that report is because she dismissed the indictment. The case was over. So there's no need to produce some sort of report. We've got thousands of docket entries on that case. So we'll see what happens. But Jamie Raskin saying if that report is released, he wants to bring Jack Smith back so he can answer questions that he currently could not.
Jamie Raskin. God bless him. Listen, I know you got to go. You got to go do a War Room with Steve Bannon. So you go on with your bad self. And thanks once again, Julie Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Victoria. Thanks for having me on.
You take care. That's awesome. So, so she was watching it. I appreciate what she has to say, because she has I try to keep up with all of this, but Julie really is able to read so much of the court documents and that sort of thing, and get to the nth degree. She also, I hope that you can see this. I'm going to share this. This is Jack Smith's deposition that he did not too long ago. And so she went through his deposition and realized, of course, there's a lot of misinformation. There is a lot of things that he couldn't lie about, that he has lied about in public. And so that is, so her latest piece on Substack, this one, is the one you want to read, because she distills things down and she compares and contrasts. The other thing is that, which was funny, because when was the last time you saw the Washington Post, come to the aid of anybody, stick it to a Democrat. Okay, how about that? And of course, Jack Smith definitely is. Jack Smith would have blown a hole in the First Amendment if he'd been allowed to do what he did. This was from earlier this month. Julie included it as a link in her Substack. The House Judiciary Committee privately interviewed former special counsel Jack Smith last month and published a transcript last week. And the good news is that the exchange was mostly substantive and respectful, but the bad news is that Smith is still clinging to a flawed legal theory. He says they're worth highlighting, these legal theories, because even well-intentioned prosecutors can do damage. I mean, making the assumption that he is well-intentioned, I don't even know if that's happening here, but I don't think so. Even well-intentioned prosecutors can do damage when they lose sight of constitutional limit. In August 2023, Trump's indictment by Jack Smith focused on the Trump repeated claims that the 2020 election was stolen in the run-up to the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. Put simply, the indictment accused Trump of lying so pervasively about the election that he committed criminal fraud. And of course, then the Washington Post, which does rely on its very existence from the carve-out in the U.S. Constitution called the First Amendment, said, hey, you know what? If you can make a carve-out because you hate Donald Trump, you can make a carve-out to do this and sandbag anybody for just doing the act of speaking. And even the congressional representatives, they have the speech and debate clause behind which they can sit and hide like a blind, when you're on a hunt. But so I will say that Jack Smith is a bad actor. He volunteered for the job. He wasn't properly put on the payroll as a DOJ employee. They made him a special prosecutor, did not properly name and appoint him. And when that came to the attention of the court, in a lawsuit by the Trump people, the federal judge said, yeah, you're right. He's not properly appointed. He is an illegal special prosecutor. He's gone. Yeah. We had 4 years of hell under Biden and Kamala, never again. Well, let me tell you something. This really old lady, I love it when this really old looking lady is being dishonest and spreading disinformation. Of course you'd say that. Of course you would. Speaking of pressing for disinformation, this is pretty interesting. Something that we talked about on Tuesday, which I will bring back today. And it is remember the kid who was on C-SPAN, or correction, he was on CNN. Oh, don't worry, I'll play it for you again. I'm going to have this up, and this is what he said on CNN earlier this week. I'm just trying to recognize. There we go.
Is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You going to let that sit? Are we going to claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring? Or
well,
I mean,
we're going to talk about the Epstein file. Scott, I will do the fact checking as we go along here. Repeat what you said about the global sex trafficking ring.
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it.
Okay. We'll get to that later. I mean, Donald Trump has never been charged with any crimes in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. But
let's be adults here.
We'll talk about Epstein files later.
Serious.
Satisfied?
Okay. Are you satisfied? Okay. So what did he do? So twice he said that what I see on our chat during this live stream, often from people who clearly don't know, and they accuse me of passing on disinformation because they don't agree with me. Okay, fine. You can disagree with me, and that's fine, but I don't say anything I don't know. But this kid...
That the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of. But
then he said it again when John Berman, the host on CNN, said, hey, Donald Trump has never been charged with anything having to do with the Epstein files. And it was nice that he did that, okay? It was very nice that he did that. That was the least he could have done, and he got away with the least of what he could do. And so what happened was, so bizarre. The kid apologized, okay? He apologized. I apologize. So let me get this story up. I just want you to see this. Let's remove this. Let's get our sharing thing. CNN's new kid, I write, over at PJ Media, apologizes for telling a complete whopper about Donald Trump. And then he makes it even worse. So here's a nice little picture of this when he was in Parkland shooting. He was at the area of Florida high school. He was at that school. He and David Hogg went off to become political actors, and he's ended up on CNN. This is a kid. His name is Cameron Haskey. He's 25 years old and old enough to know better. And so he claimed twice that Donald Trump was part of a sex trafficking network. That is a quote. He was alluding to the Jeffrey Epstein case. And this is something that the lefties who are on our stream and constantly say in the comments section that Donald Trump was, bad actor and he was a sex trafficker. Oh, okay. Now, he has apologized. And here's his apology. Let me get to it. I would like to retract my comments from CNN last night and truly apologize. So he says this, I would truly like to apologize. And then what does he do? We assume that some lawyer at CNN said, hey, dude, you're going to get sued. Or actually, we're going to get sued because you're on our air, our cable, our product, and you are telling things that'll get us sued because there's no proof of this. So here's what he says. I would like to retract my comments from CNN last night. I apologize. Let me just make sure. I just want to make sure I get everything. I truly apologize. Donald Trump was obviously not involved with and then here's what he does. He was obviously not involved with a giant international child sex trafficking ring where women and children were systematically raped by elites. I said that by accident, and I didn't mean it. Okay. So he repeats the slander again. He repeats the slander, and he's gotten himself into even more trouble as a result. Why? Well, because homeboy not just said it again, but by saying that by saying it was an obvious thing that Donald Trump was clearly not a part of this, and I just blurted it out twice on national television. And I truly apologize because it was inaccurate. It was not true. But he says that the obvious way in which he was clearly not a part of it, not involved with the sex trafficking ring. I said that by accident, and I didn't mean it. Of course, this is BS. This whole apology is nonsense. It's absolute ridiculous nonsense. And here's what I said. Now, the thing is that if it's an obvious remark and it's an obvious observation, then of course Donald Trump's not doing this, but he did it twice and then did it again in his apology. That goes to prove intent, malicious intent, and malice aforethought is a way in which you could be sued and brought up on in a federal case for lying and maligning and defaming even a public person like Donald Trump. That's the way you do it. It's obviously malice aforethought. So this is a clear case of bad intent. This is a clear case of defamation. And this kid's in trouble. CNN's even in trouble. If CNN's lawyers are the ones who told him to say that in his quote unquote true apology, then they have just committed fire them now. They're not worth their salt. In the old C wing of whatever office building they're in. They're ridiculous. They're terrible. And if they let this person, their commentator, say these untrue and defamatory words about Donald Trump, I mean, they're screwed. They are screwed. There is a lawsuit here. You better believe, I should say, that Donald Trump is going to sue them over this. Why do I say that? Because Donald Trump has sued the BBC for lying about his statements and editing them in so it made him look like he was telling people at the Ellipse on January 6, 2021 to storm the Capitol. He never said that. They never said that. He is suing them for $10 billion. And in Europe, in the UK specifically, famous people can sue the media all day long. They don't have the stringent standards of the New York Times versus Sullivan lawsuit, the First Amendment law that is in the United States. They don't have that. They can just do it willy-nilly. And that's why Prince Andrew, that's the Epstein case. That's why Prince, what's his name, the spare, God, why am I married to the terrible princess? Why am I just blanking? Doesn't matter. He goes over and he sues. He sued like the Telegraph or something, or one of the sheets that they have, the broadsheets that on page 3 where they have women with no clothes on. It's just he went after him. He won. So here's Trump suing BBC for $10 billion. He sued Meta for $25 million over his suspension from Facebook. Remember, there was this whole cabal. This was all part of this NGO existence and the NED organization, which bought into full-on censorship against American citizens. And this, they decided that since the election and the COVID situation election law had it transformed into a protected infrastructure of the United States. It previously had not been said, though this is a red line, this is actual national security. And of course, I think that elections are something that should be to the height of national security. But they said, the NED and all these other organizations said, hey, now you can't say anything. And they were censoring people like the President of the United States on Meta. And that's on Facebook. Alphabet paid $22 million for suspending Trump's YouTube channel. This was all done after the election? Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Or was it before? It was right around the election. I'll have to think about that. CBS settled with Trump for $16 million over its deceptive edits of Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. And ABC News settled with Trump for $15 million over George Stephanopoulos' false claims about him, which brings me to this. Brings me to this story, which I wrote about the other day. And it is this claim made by a lot of people in the chat and a lot of people who have just piped up, like this chick that you'll see here, say misinformation. Okay, whatever you say. You can, people, you can say things that are wrong, but the thing is that they're wrong for a reason, because they're not right. And stupid people, unthinking people, believe that they can, in this case, go after an ICE agent. And check out this exchange.
You know what we're looking for? You want to know?
You have a warrant? I'd love to see it. Okay, can I see it?
Who are you?
Can I see it?
Are you related?
I live here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you get to see it?
Okay, do you have a warrant? I'd like to see it. I can put it on video.
No.
Oh, you don't? So you don't
No,
have
I
a
have a
warrant?
warrant, but I'm not going to show you.
Why not?
Because you're nobody.
Okay. You're here because the office is closed, right?
No. We're here because we're looking for
You're here because the
a fugitive.
office is closed. You don't have
A
permission to
fugitive.
be
You
here.
know what he did? You want to know what he did? Lula Civis College was a minor.
You want to know what your president did? He's a rapist. You need to go look for that motherfucker.
Okay, sorry about the language, but here's the thing. Here's the point of that. Somebody that animated and wants to go after an ICE agent to demand seeing a warrant to which he's not allowed or entitled to see, and then says, "Oh well, you go after that guy. You go after Trump. He's a terrible person." Okay. Which, of course, is the reason that George Stephanopoulos and his network, ABC, had to pay $15 million. Aaron, our lead troll in our discussion, which all of a sudden the chats have been removed. I think I did something. Sorry, guys. Apologies for that. But anyway, said that he settled. Yeah, those places settled with him. Yeah, they did. You know why, Aaron? Let me school you a little bit, and so school other people as well. The reason that they settled was because they don't want discovery into their editorial decisions by President Trump, because we're liable to find out a lot of bad information about the news media and Meta and Google. Although I'd prefer it that they would be able to get in there and look at the way in which they decided to make their decisions, such as when we found out about the Twitter files. Remember that? And the Twitter files showed us that Elvis Chang of the FBI was meeting with Twitter people every week to go over whose accounts should be censored because they were saying things with which the censorship police with NED and all these other NGOs did not agree. We had an entire censorship umbrella over this country, a surveillance that Elon Musk got us out of. And I don't know, maybe you don't like Elon. That's fine. You don't have to like Elon. But you got to give him a hat tip for doing that, for buying Twitter and turning it into X. So, whatever. Man, oh man. Oh, final deal. Here's Keith Ellison. He is Minnesota's Attorney General. And this is him in Portland last night. He's got the vice president coming to town. He knows the vice president's coming to town. He's got riotous behavior on the streets. And he knows there's riotous behavior on the streets because he's encouraging it. And what does he do? He goes to Portland. He goes to Portland, Oregon, and sits down with the Oregon Attorney General, the California Attorney General, the Maine Attorney General, and the Hawaii Attorney General. And they pat themselves on the back for bringing lawsuits against Donald Trump's administration, one for every week he's been in office. On this particular deal, listen to Keith Ellison talk about what's going on in his city and Renee Good.
But I want you to know at this very minute, at this very hour, Trump has escalated the number of immigration agents, ICE and Border Patrol in the state of Minnesota. He has sent more than 3,500 people to the state of Minnesota to go chase a fairly small number of people who are out of status in terms of their legal right to be in the country and have serious felonies and are dangerous to the public. That's a fairly small number of people. And let me just tell you, if you're going to hurt Minnesotans, we're not going to stand in the way of that. But what has happened is that there are way more people that are needed to carry out that task. So what are these 3,500 doing? They're harassing everybody in our state.
Okay. They're harassing everybody in our state. And they also, one of the other things that he said in Portland, Oregon, what's he doing there? They're plotting more ways to stump the Trump. administration. That's what they're doing there. And it was not a meeting that they touted. Nobody knew it was coming except for the NGOs that I'm told were all there. Very interesting. Now, what were they doing? Pretty interesting. In fact, here is Rob Bonta. He is the California Attorney General. And he's talking about how he is so proud of himself for suing the Trump administration over and over.
We fight together, we're stronger. When we fight together, we're better. When we fight together, we're able to deliver for you, our bosses, the people who need champions to fight for them, for your rights, for your freedoms. And we've done that time and time again. I couldn't be more proud of that. We have taken the position that we are going to protect and defend the rule of law, our democracy, your rights and your freedoms. In California, that has looked like 54 lawsuits in a year, more than one a week. And to be clear, we don't want to sue the Trump administration at all if we don't have to. We would love a federal government that is our partner, that's working with us in collaboration to...
Can I just add here, this is so interesting. He's talking about how we want to use the feds and all their money to feed the hungry and the homeless and all sorts of things. That is a load of nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. Why?
Solve problems and deliver for the people on the many challenges that we have, from affordability to public safety, access to health care, whatever it is. So he decided he wanted to get sued more than once a week. And so we obliged. And
okay, so that is the noise. That's noise. The signal is the fact that there's a lot of fraud going on in the state of California. They lost $55 million. I'm sorry, did I say million? I meant $billion. And giving away money to illegal aliens as well as other people, but mostly illegal aliens. $24 billion was lost to the homeless programs. They couldn't figure out where all the money was spent. They lost $24 billion. They gave out all this money. And what happened was they didn't keep track of it. So Rob Bonta's there saying, well, they've taken away all this money from us. Dude, you lost it. You don't get any more money. We're fighting for $188 billion. Now, sure, I get it. He's saying, okay, Congress said it was okay, we get this money, but not if you piss it away. You can't have it. You can't have it. You keep losing it. $55 billion in the COVID scam that was the employment scam. I mean, there are so many missing billions of dollars, and there are 8 administrative things in the state of California, offices that are on the bubble. The legislative analyst says they don't know. They're already on the watch list, but they are going to come crashing down if they don't get their fiscal house in order. Rob Bonta knows all that. And now he's going, it's all President Trump's fault. No, it's not. It's your fault, fella. It is your fault. In fact, let's look. Yeah, I just want to bring this up because, hey, what the heck? I do like to provide some proof. Let's see. California. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I wonder if this is... This is not what I was looking for. Oh, yeah, budget response. Here it is. Let's check this out. The executive summary says that we've got big problems. And the problems are in all of these different offices in the state of California. They are on life support because the governor and the Democrats, because that's supermajority state, you got what you wanted, complete and utter destruction of the state economic and finances. And they've got these things that they don't know where some of the money is. This is the legislative analyst on the budget report. This is serious. And they're going to blame President Trump for that. They want him to bail them out for all of their misspending. I mean, they're bullet train to nowhere. Do you know that they haven't laid one? It's been 16 years and they haven't laid one track. One. Not 1 foot of that. This is a scandal of huge proportions. And when Gavin Newsom came into office in 2019, he said, well, I'm going to do something about that. Train to nowhere. Didn't do one stinking thing. Kept overspending on it. Kept it going. Kept the grift going. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Because all of the consultancies that receive these big contracts from the state of California, to whom do they give their campaign donations? People, once you see it, you can't unsee it. They give them to the Democrats. Happens every time. It is one of the reasons why these people from Somalia keep giving kickbacks to the Democrats, because they're allowing them to defraud the system with their ill-gotten, daycare centers and the other kinds of things that, bus system that Nick Shirley and is it David Hawks reported on. People, we're in big trouble. And it shouldn't be against the law. It shouldn't end in somebody getting shot because we call attention to it. Nick Shirley's gotten all these death threats. I mean, he was actually in front of Congress earlier. And earlier this week. And talking about this. So this is a 23-year-old kid. Like, you got the 25-year-old idiot stick over on CNN. Nick Shirley has been doing this since he was 16. Not always man on the street, but just as a YouTuber. And so he's a YouTuber. And now he's looking out for I'm telling the story nobody else is telling. He's just not doing it. He's amplifying it to the extent that nobody else can compare. Okay. People have been saying this for forever. I say the Powerline blog has been on this story for years. And some people have been put in prison as a result of all of the things they have found, all the fraud they've found. But Nick Shirley took it to another level. He made it go supernova. And good on him. Good on him. At least he's doing something for the benefit of people and not the demise of people. So there you go. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to share with you today. I want to make sure I've got I've gotten what motivates people, the arrests. One of the other things that Keith Ellison said in that soundbite I just played for you out of Portland, Oregon, he talked about Renee Good. And Renee Good, he talked about her being a widow,
friends, they murdered
a widow,
a woman who was monitoring to make sure that she could look out for her most vulnerable neighbors. Her name is Renee Macklin Good, and I want you to never forget her name and to say it all the time.
So he talks about, in that soundbite, he talks about the fact that she left behind a widow. And it turns out that they were not married. In fact, Julie Kelly broke that story that I'm aware of. They were not married, and I just think that it's one of those factoids that one should know. They were depending so heavily on the fact that this was a heaven-made story of an in-love couple with a 6-year-old son. And it turns out that Renee Good wasn't married. Her two previous husbands, and this marriage has ended in divorce. And Renee Macklin Good was also not married to the woman with whom she was in a partnership. Okay, so this is, let me just make sure that I get, yeah, that's not it. Hold on. I've got a story about it. Yeah, there we go. Oh, this grounding shoes. That's not nice. I am a VIP member of PJ Media, but for some reason I can't stop getting out of all these ads. And anyway, so go. Finally. Sorry to break up your narrative about Renee Good, lefties, but I've got some news. And the news is that they weren't married. She changed her name in court, the way that Snoop Dogg changed his name. And other people have changed their names over the years to accord with this partnership so that they could get away with, I guess, passing themselves off as a married couple. An attorney representing Renee Good's estate acknowledged in an interview in the Washington Post that Becca Good was not her wife. Antonio Ramanucci, the Chicago-based attorney who also represented the family of George Floyd and succeeded in winning a $27 million settlement for the Floyd family, and Renee's partner, parents, and 4 siblings want to honor her life with progress toward a kinder and more civil America. Well, I don't know. Perhaps ramming your car into an ICE agent is not an example of that. How about if you don't ram your cars into ICE agents and we won't have a problem? Wouldn't that be a great thing? That'd be great. And by the way, you still can't follow ICE agents. Sorry, just that doesn't happen. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting because, of course, so much relies upon this sort of hagiography, this desire to tell a story that doesn't actually exist. There's probably a lot more stuff. For example, the father, her ex-husband's father, who died in 2023, he hopes to get custody of his grandson. He hopes to get custody because but he doesn't want to take the kid from anybody. But the fact is that this was not a marriage. So, and she didn't adopt the boy, the Becca Good, who's somewhat in hiding right now. She didn't adopt the kid. And she has no custodial anything over that child. She helped get his mother killed by saying, "Drive, baby, drive." And she drove right into the ICE agent. Hello? I'm not exactly somebody you want to leave your kid with, am I right? So, not good. Not good at all. So let's hope the grandparents get custody of this kid. And God bless that that's just a terrible situation. Yeah. Let's see. Our friend the troll is still on golly. Why is he still on? He says that she didn't drive into the ICE agent. Yeah, okay. You can peddle that somewhere, but not here. Okay. Thank you for being here. I will be back on Tuesday and Thursday of next week, and we will have more deep thoughts about what's going on in the news. And until then, have yourselves a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and The Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.